the top 20 most anticipated games of 2020. "2020 is going to be a landmark year. New consoles don't come around that often, and this year we get two, with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X making their debut in the fall. The PS4 and Xbox One are riding out into the sunset. The Switch is officially an adult, and VR is ready for its second life. It's going to be another amazing year, so cutting this list to 20 was absolutely brutal. Number 20. Gears Tactics. We like XCOM. We like Gears of War. Mix them together and you get Gears Tactics, a turn-based strategy game with a Brumac-sized budget. Set before the events of the first game, this sequel doesn't skimp on story and cinematics, or gore. If you've ever wondered how far this style of game can go with unlimited resources, that question will be answered when it releases for Xbox One and PC on April 28th. Number 19. Dreams. First announced way back at E3 2015, Media Molecule's spiritual successor to Little Big Planet is finally ready for public consumption. Copy, paste, and snap to build just about any genre, or just download the work of others. If the creations from the beta are any indication, it's an extremely flexible tool that will have plenty of content at launch. Fall in love with your creative side when it releases on Valentine's Day for PS4. Number 18. Yakuza Like a Dragon. The Yakuza franchise has finally found a foothold in the West, as all of its games will be available for purchase in the near future. It would seem like the perfect time to release a polished sequel in the same genre and reap the rewards. Sega has done the opposite, as the 7th mainline game is a turn-based RPG with a brand new protagonist. 6 open-world action-adventure entries will hold us over while we take this detour that appears to span similar territory. We applaud Sega's bravery. We'll see if it pays off when it's released for PS4 in late 2020. Number 17. Godfall. As the only PlayStation 5 game that has been shown to this point, Godfall practically makes this list by default. It doesn't hurt that this loot slasher is being nurtured by the studio behind Borderlands. Think The Division with laser swords instead of M16s. Already confirmed to be available at launch for PlayStation 5 and also coming to PC, there's no word on if it will join the growing ranks of big-budget free-to-play releases, but you are free to speculate. Number 16. Marvel's Avengers. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride for Crystal Dynamics' Avengers game. After a lackluster E3 2019 showing, the last 6 months have been spent repairing its reputation with encouraging results. It fared much better at Comic-Con and Gamescom, where character tweaks appeased fans and the gameplay demos relayed its depth. The MCU may have closed the door on the saga, but you can live it one last time when Avengers launches for all major platforms minus Switch, September 4th. Number 15. Doom Eternal. One of the biggest surprise delays from 2019, Doom Eternal is the follow-up to the universally praised reboot from 2016. With a 20-plus hour campaign set 8 months after the last game, the ability to invade other players' games, and a multiplayer suite built in-house this time around, it's shaping up to be bigger and even meaner. It's a lot of content to polish, so the delay will likely be worth it. Survive hell on earth when it launches March 20th for all major platforms. Number 14. Gods and Monsters. While visions of Vikings dance in our heads pondering the next Assassin's Creed, one of its teams has been building this Breath of the Wild-like action RPG. As you might expect, it's an open-world game, but with a bit more levity and heart. Narrated by Homer and set in Greek mythology, there's a lot more leeway to be creative than with Creed's historically accurate locales. Expect more platforming along with resource and stamina management to keep you in check when it launches for all major platforms near the end of the year. Number 13. Animal Crossing: New Horizons. Animal Crossing lives and dies based on the time of day, so it's hard to forgive Nintendo for delaying the first one for Switch into 2020. Tom Nook's hook this time around is extensive online functionality, and his pitch is an exotic getaway to a deserted island. Tent living isn't for everyone, but at least the island has cell phone towers, and not many can say they've built their own timeshare. The Switch gets crafty when New Horizons launches on March 20th. Number 12. Dying Light 2. Dying Light is one of the biggest surprise smash hits of Generation 8. It sold over 13 million copies in 5 years, and it's still being supported with DLC to this day. All good things must come to an end, and it's time to pass the tire iron to the sequel. Not content to create a new plot, build some new levels, and call it a day, Techland has completely revamped the quest system to give the storytelling in this open-world zombie hunter some latitude. No two playthroughs will be the same, and we can't wait to put it to the test when it launches for PC, PS4, and Xbox One in the second quarter. Number 11. Watch Dogs: Legion. In some ways, Legion is the game we thought we were getting with the original Watch Dogs. It's taken 2 tries, but Ubisoft finally appears to have created an open-world environment where any character is playable, complete with backstories, routines, and stats. It's an ambitious concept, and layering it over the intricacies of an open, breathing world complicates things further. Will Ubisoft deliver on the potential? It has all year to get it sorted. Number 10. Resident Evil 3 Remake. If we hadn't already played the Resident Evil 2 remake in 2019, this game would be much lower on the list. But we have, and we're still shocked at just how great it is. The source material isn't as strong with Resident Evil 3, but Capcom is compensating with an asymmetrical multiplayer mode called Resistance. If you liked the Mr. X chases in RE2, you're in for a treat with this one when it launches for PC, PS4, and Xbox One on April 3rd. Number 9. Half-Life ALYX. We've waited 15 years for the narrative in the Half-Life franchise to lurch forward, and while we're not getting the long-awaited Episode 3 for Half-Life 2, this VR game acts as a prequel to all the madness. It also supports all the latest and greatest tech the medium has to offer. It's the killer app VR has needed all along, but it also leaves a lot of players out in the cold. Will VR sales spike, or will we all be begging for a 2D version? It's one of the biggest questions of 2020. Number 8. Ghost of Tsushima. Feudal Japan is no stranger to video games, but it's rarely taken as seriously as in Ghost of Tsushima. This isn't an alt history version of the period with wizards, magic, and hideous creatures to stab. It's a steel-on-steel account of the Mongol invasion in the 13th century. You play as the last samurai who must master the ghost technique to save Japan. Hopefully, the game itself doesn't become an apparition and disappear out of the summer. Its release date has been elusive. Number 7. Halo Infinite. Once upon a time, a new Halo game being released with a new Xbox console would bring the house down, but times have changed. Bungie has moved on, and the 2 Halo games released by 343 Industries thus far haven't inspired a ton of confidence. Halo Infinite has also received the same 3-year development cycle, so despite a brand new engine, we're skeptical that whispers of RPG elements and a branching story will be fulfilled. Several prominent studio leads have also left during the project, but it's Halo, and until further notice, we still care a lot. Number 6. Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's still surreal to think that a completely remade version of Final Fantasy VII is almost here. It's proof that dreams really can come true. At first, we were disappointed that the turn-based battles were replaced with real-time combat, but we've been pleasantly surprised at the care that has been taken to appease fans both old and new. It appears to be the best possible reimagining of a classic, and it won't be long until we find out for sure when it launches for PlayStation 4 on April 10th. Number 5. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild 2. While the first Breath of the Wild falls short of its contemporaries in some ways, it also sets some new standards for how players interact with open worlds. The hope is that the sequel will include all the things that the first game does so well, while also supplying more traditional Zelda-style dungeons. It's not a given that it releases this year, but 3 years is plenty of time to build a new game with an engine and assets already in place. Number 4. The Last of Us Part 2. It's been 3 years since The Last of Us Part 2 was announced, and we can only imagine how long Naughty Dog worked on it before that. Few studios are afforded the same time to craft a single game, and even fewer have the same level of talent, making each release a landmark moment. Information has been scarce. With just 4 trailers and cryptic interviews to go by, Joel and Ellie's saga will remain an enigma until it releases for PlayStation 4 on May 29th. Number 3. Xbox Series X. The cat is mostly out of the bag for the Xbox Series X. We know the name, the rough release date, the form factor, and some of its games like Hellblade 2. The final pieces of the puzzle are its final specs and the price, but we suspect we'll get those at E3 2020. The lack of mystery hurts a bit, but the potential of Microsoft's stable of new studios makes it a must-watch as its fall release date approaches. Number 2. PlayStation 5 and PlayStation VR 2. Mystery is in no short supply with the PlayStation 5. At this point, we know its name, some ballpark specs, and that it will have minimal load times. That's about it. Leaked images of its funky development kit and beefy controller have been making the rounds, but they only stoke the flames. Sony also has another big product to debut with its next revision of PlayStation VR. It's going to be a big year for the company, but it's hard to forget the anemic software that has accompanied prior PlayStation consoles at launch. Number 1. Cyberpunk 2077. If you had told us we were going to play a futuristic Witcher game in 2020, we'd be over the moon. But Cyberpunk 2077 is so much more than that. Trading fantasy and magic for bleeding-edge tech and dirty street-smart aesthetic, it presents a whole new set of opportunities laid over CD Projekt Red's flexible RPG underpinnings. While most of us will have to decide whether to buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X this year, virtually everyone will be able to play Cyberpunk 2077, making it the most anticipated product in gaming for 2020. 2020 is going to be another great year in gaming, and it's a big year at SIFTD as well. We're relaunching the site in February, along with a number of other big surprises. If you like what we're doing, please consider pledging to our Patreon at patreon.com/SIFTD. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Here's to an amazing year ahead.